Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video wherever you are. Whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly. It's my second video here on this Tuesday evening. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell so you'll get notified whenever we go live, and tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. Share the videos on all social media platforms. Now, a few weeks back, I did 2 videos in one night because I was talking about wrestling brackets, because me and my man JJ, who do a weekly podcast over on the Greenville Sports Media YouTube page, please go over there and give us a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to that channel as well. But we do a podcast every week on there, sometimes 2 a week, and the channel is called Wrestling and Racing. Good evening, to have you here as always. And we're doing these brackets, and we're going to break them down just like you'd see at March Madness tournament college basketball, where 2 tag teams, 2 women, and 2 men will face off against each other until we get down to the final 4. Now, last week over on the Greenville Sports Media YouTube page, we did the tag team brackets, and we've now got them down to the final 8 tag teams. And then we're going to do the women and get it down to the final 8. And then we're going to start the men's bracket. We've already released and told everybody who the men in the tournament will be, but we have not started the elimination process as of yet. But when we get down to the final 4 tag teams and the final 4 women and the final 4 men, we're going to have a big, huge cast get together at a restaurant, probably in the upstate of South Carolina. Hey there, and Kit, glad to have you here on this Tuesday evening. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. But we've been doing it over on the Greenville Sports Media YouTube channel. But my man JJ is suffering tonight from a severe migraine, so he asked me to do it here on this channel. Now, when I did this about 3 weeks ago and I talked about the tag teams and the women, I said that, we would take comments either on the Greenville Sports Media YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. If you know me in person, you can tell me in person. And also, you can also message me on Facebook, pick. But all we're doing is taking, thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and then narrowing it down. And then when we get down to the final 4 for the men and the women and the tag teams, we're hoping to have other podcasters that like wrestling on the channel as well to hear their thoughts on, who should be the overall best tag team, the overall best women's wrestler, and the best overall men's wrestlers. Well, we're going back to 1974 all the way to today. That was the years JJ picked. So it's 52 years of wrestling. So it's not just older wrestling, and it's not just newer wrestling. That way, if you've got old school wrestling fans, they've got a reason to chime in. If you've got new school wrestling fans, they've got reasons to chime in. Hey there, Rizza. Glad to have you here. So, since I'm filling in for Jay tonight, he would still love to have your comments on this. Let's talk about the women. Now, I talked about the women a few weeks back, but the one thing that's changed since then was Mae Young getting replaced by Chyna. Jay talked to a bunch of people that said Chyna should be in the bracket, so he had to determine and decide, if you're putting Chyna in, you're taking somebody out. Who are you taking out? He decided on Mae Young, and I told him, I was fine with that because, even though Mae Young is one of the best all-time women's wrestlers, her glory days were the 50s and 60s. So honestly, really, truly, by the time the mid 70s, came around, she still wrestled, but nothing like she did back in the, 50s and 60s. And then, of course, the 90s, she's a TV character, but not for anything she did, wrestling wise. So Chyna does replace not Michelle McCool. She wrestles Michelle McCool, but she replaces Mae Young. And that was fine because I was going to have Mae Young beat Michelle McCool, so I'll have Chyna beat Michelle McCool, so I was fine with that. But we had 4 brackets, just like in the March Madness tournament, and we have 8 women in each bracket. So we start out with 32 women. And you hate to see anybody lose because honestly, we didn't put, no slouchers in the tag team bracket, the women's bracket, or the men's bracket. It's all great, great talent. So it's not like March Madness where first round you're seeing, a really good wrestler against a really bad wrestler. We didn't do that. We put in all great wrestlers. So you hate to see anybody lose, but when it's an elimination style bracket and format, somebody has to lose. So somebody losing doesn't mean we don't like them. It just means they weren't as good as who they faced. But Jay and I tried to look at this from a booker's mentality, from a backstage mentality, not from a I'm a fan mentality. Because if you're a fan of somebody, obviously you're going to say every match they're in, they win. But we're looking at it from a booker's perspective. When 2 people wrestle each other, whether it's 2 old school, 2 new school, or 1 old and 1 new, who wins? Who does it make more sense if they win? Who sells more merchandise? Who's more popular if they're, good, or who's more hated if they're bad? Who do the fans pay to see? Who's the better wrestler? Who's the better gimmick? It wasn't just, hey, I like that person, they win. We didn't do it like that because that's not really fair. That's the same thing I say in football. I have my teams in all sports, but, when I talk about sports, I talk about it from an overall perspective, not from a perspective of team I like, because then you end up wearing, the wrong colored glasses, and you're wearing glasses through the shades of your team. I don't do that. That can make you be stupid and sound stupid sometimes. Well, same way with this. But one bracket we had Charlotte wrestling Akira Hikaru, Alexa Bliss wrestling Rhea Ripley, Michelle McCool wrestling Chyna, and Io Sky wrestling Awesome Kong. Now in that bracket we have Charlotte, Akira Hikaru, Rhea Ripley defeating Alexa Bliss, Chyna over Michelle McCool, and Awesome Kong over Io Sky. Our next bracket we have Fabulous Moolah facing off with Deonna Purrazzo, and Deonna Purrazzo comes out with the win on that one. Beth Phoenix 1-on-1 with Gail Kim, and Gail Kim gets the win. Trish Stratus and Toni Storm, and Trish Stratus gets the win. And Becky Lynch and Bull Nakano, and Bull Nakano gets the win. Our third bracket we have Medusa versus Jordynne Grace, and Medusa gets the win. Sasha Banks, or if you prefer, you can call her Mercedes Moné, versus Natalya, and Sasha Banks gets the win. Ember Moon against Victoria, and we went with Ember Moon. And then we have Bayley and Taryn Terrell, and Bayley gets the win. And the fourth and final bracket is Asuka versus Lita. Lita comes out with the win on that one. Molly Holly versus Chris Statlander, and Molly Holly gets the win. Bianca Belair and Mickie James, and Mickie James gets the win. And then it's Paige and Liv Morgan, and Liv Morgan gets the win. So that takes us down to the Sweet 16 in the words of college basketball. And the Sweet 16, Charlotte Flair over Rhea Ripley. Awesome Kong over China. Sasha Banks over Medusa. Ember Moon over Bayley. And then we have in another bracket, Gail Kim over Deonna Purrazzo, and Trish Stratus over Bull Nakano. And then we have Lita over Molly Holly, and Mickie James over Liv Morgan. So now we're down to the final 8 women, and hopefully next week Jay will be back, and him and I can work this down to our final 4. If you check out the Greenville Sports Media YouTube channel, not only should you subscribe, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and tell your friends and family all about the channel, but also tell my man JJ to get to feeling better. But our final 8 women, we have Charlotte Flair, Trish Stratus, Gail Kim, Sasha Banks, Lita, Ember Moon, Awesome Kong, and Mickie James. So that'll be our final 8 women. And if you're not up to date and you're behind on the tag team bracket, go back and watch Jay and I's seeding and winners in the tag team brackets last Tuesday over on the Greenville Sports Media YouTube channel. Hello, Eddie. Glad to have you back, Eddie. This was strictly a wrestling video for a tournament style bracket that I'm doing with JJ over on his YouTube channel for the podcast he does called Greenville Sports Media. But him and I do a podcast every week called Wrestling and Racing. It's usually on Mondays, but the last few weeks has been Monday and Tuesday. But Jay's got a bad migraine tonight, so I was doing it on my channel to help him. But I did do a video probably 2 hours ago where I talked college football, Eddie, so go back and watch that. And my video last night was about college football. Appreciate you stopping by, Eddie. I'd love for you to watch my video from earlier tonight and last night because it was kind of part 1 and part 2. The videos kind of went together. I'm doing an alphabetical listing, and I'm down to O. So I've still got to go the rest of O all the way down to where it stops. I'm not going to say Z because I know there are no college football teams that start with a Z, but it's an alphabetical listing of each team's best player in the history of the program. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on not every school, of course. Some schools it's kind of obvious, like Buffalo. Their best player is Khalil Mack. That's inarguable. We all know that. But a lot of the Bloods could have, 75 or 80 players that could be the best player of all time. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Eddie. And hopefully next week this will be back over on the Greenville Sports Media YouTube page. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over. Count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them.